Good morning, welcome to your resolution ride. 30 minutes for 30 days here with us at TAG. Let's start with an easy warm-up here. If you've been on your bike, which I think a lot of you have, you can bring it right up to 50% now at your preferred cadence, which is in the 90 to 100 RPM range. If you are just hopping on, start easier. Start in that 30% range, 3 out of 10, somewhere between 80 and 110 watts with a nice high turnover. And then after a couple minutes, start bringing that up to your 5 out of 10, which, depending on what your MAP number is, for those of you who know that, which is in your 10 out of 10 range, it's about half of that. And our preferred cadence is where you find you're most efficient for longer efforts. So somewhere in the 90 to 100 RPM range. Often newer cyclists are a little lower than that, but it's well worth training your legs to come up to that 90-ish range. So just warming up here. I'm Colleen, for those who haven't met me yet, coach at TAG, inside and outside, and a cyclist of most disciplines, some better than others. But I love being on my bike, as I know most of you do too. So that's why we're here, getting some good habits, learning some skills, getting stronger. Another 3 minutes here. Today, we are continuing our work on cadence, on your RPMs. Our first skills day, we worked on our high RPM. Last week, we focused more on our pedal stroke with some higher RPMs, doing single leg and the higher set. Today, we're going in the other direction. We're going to do some strength cadence work, decreasing RPMs, getting stronger for the hills, for those sudden bursts. So it's more of a solid effort, decreasing down, and we'll get into that after we begin with our single-legged drills again. The reason we start with the single-legged drills is to remind our bodies how to turn a really good circle with your pedal stroke. So we start with that, start revisiting the circumference of the circle, checking in with our bodies, our balance, and it's particularly important as we're going into these lower RPMs and higher watts. Another minute and a half here, and we're going to begin with our single-legged drill. We're going to do 3 sets on each side, 30 seconds each side, 60 seconds each side, and 90 seconds each side. Then we'll transition to the main set. So what you want to do is find a comfortable cadence, probably some sort of a climbing-ish, quick, crisp climbing-ish cadence, often in the 70, 80 RPM range. A nice, relatively easy gear. We're not putting load on at this stage, but enough that you can turn a circle consistently for that time period without getting little gaps in your circle. So you can adjust that accordingly. 30 seconds will feel much different than 90. And if you do feel some fatiguing along the way, definitely put your second leg back on, take a few pedal strokes, take it back out again, or just go back to your 2-legged circles. So we're going with our first leg out in 5 seconds. So let's find that easier gear and take out our left leg. And we're on for 30 seconds. Make sure you're nice and centered over your handlebars, but that you don't have a ton of weight. You should be able to comfortably lift your hands off without tipping over one side or the other. My cadence is in and around 70 right now, and my watt output is in that beginning warm-up phase. I'm at around 100 watts. And legs back in, couple pedal strokes, and right leg out. Starting to feel that complete circle, moving your leg over the top, down, right through the bottom, and pulling up the back side and up and over the top. And another 5 seconds here, and then we're going to move into our minute. 3, 2, 1, both legs back in. And left leg out again. So now you have a little bit more time to think about this pedal stroke and what that leg is doing. Making sure you're relaxed in your upper body. I want you to think about that right foot that's doing the circle, not about the hip flexor or your glutes, just what that foot is doing. It's up and over the top, pressing down, fairly flat through the bottom, scraping something off the bottom of your shoe, and pulling up nicely through the back. You should feel a circle. Another 15 seconds here. Maybe your cadence has slowed down a little bit. Maybe you want to take a little more gear off. 5 seconds. 2, 1, both feet back on. Couple of pedal strokes. And right leg out. Make any gear adjustments. We're engaging through our power center to make sure that we can stay light on our hands and that the work is coming from our hip flexors, our main glute muscles, our hamstrings, our calves, our quads. Everything engages on a circle. Nice work. Everyone looks really smooth. So nice and steady. My cadence again is around 70. And you might notice one leg is stronger than the other. For most people, that is the case. We've got just over 5 seconds left. In 3, 2, 1, both feet back on. And the left leg out. We're here for 90 seconds. This is probably what you'd consider endurance for single leg drills. We often don't go past 60 minutes, but this is really focusing on that pedal stroke. We're continuing on from our pedal stroke work last week, where we did a couple of sets of single legs. We bookended our main set with them. And it's much easier to do it here on your trainer than when you're out in the real world. So we're just creating a memory map for our body on what a perfect circle looks like and feels like. All right, we're almost coming up to the first minute here. Nice work. You might even feel your shin, which seems a little strange, but the force going on the front side of the pedal stroke is where you're engaging that. 15 more seconds. Hang in there if you're still on your single leg. Feel free to put both back on. That's it. Nice and smooth. And 3, 2, 1. Both back on. Catch your breath. I'll give an extra couple seconds here before we do the left side. 3, 2, 1. Right leg out. We're going for 90 seconds here. Maybe this is your stronger leg, maybe it's your weaker leg. Just notice that. We're forced, when we do these single leg drills, to use our complete muscle spectrum in our lower half. We can't rely on the other side pushing down to give us an easy up on the other side, which is what we're training ourselves to do. And it's particularly important when we get into the lower cadences and the higher watts, which is what we'll be getting into next. Nice work. Just over 30 seconds to go. Stay with me if you can. Nice and light on your handlebars, drawing in your core. 20 seconds to go. You got this. I know it's not easy, but you'll be very grateful for it when you're on your next big 10+K climb. 3, 2, 1. Both feet back on. Let's get back up to your easy pace, that 3 out of 10. Preferred cadence in the 90 to 100. We'll take 2 minutes here to recover our legs, catch our breath before we get into our main set. So you're down in your easy gear right now. We'll move that up a little bit in about 30 seconds. So with our main set, you'll see that it's 14 minutes of straight riding at your 70 to 75% wattage output. So that's your 7.5 out of 10, considered to be in and around your hour power, a pace you could ride at for an hour. It's not a super talking pace, harder than your 60, but we can do that for 14 minutes if we can do it for an hour. You can bring in a little bit more gear towards your 50%. 1 more minute here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start at 90 RPM at that 75%. For 2 minutes, we're gonna hold there. And then every 2 minutes, we're gonna drop by 10 RPM. So as we go down to 80, we're adjusting our gear. And those on smart trainers, you have to adjust your watts. So we find the new RPM and then bring in the gear. Simple. I know you've got this. We're going in 15 seconds. So let's bring your cadence to 90 right now. Start bringing in some gear. We're on in 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. 70 to 75%. 7.5 out of 10. We are here for 2 minutes. So this pace at 90 is what you'd probably consider a fairly efficient cycling pace. This RPM at 90 at your 70% is definitely something you could do for an hour. A lot of us are pretty comfortable doing that preferred cadence at our power output. So what we need to work on is getting comfortable with lower RPMs and that same hour power output. And there's our first minute. Nice and steady. Steady your breathing. This is where you could stay for quite a while. And as we move into the slower and slower cadences, we are climbing or mimicking going up something a little steeper or pushing harder to catch a group. 15 more seconds. Then we're going to begin with dropping our cadence to 80 and bringing in the new gear. In 5, 3, 2, 1. Let's find 80 RPM. And bring your gear into that 70, 75%. Move your watts if you're on a smart trainer. We're 15 seconds in. You should be there. And if you've overshot your gear, bring it back. This is a skill set. We don't want to mash our gears too hard. So for people who are really comfortable riding for long periods of time, in and around that 90 to 100 RPM, 60 to 70%, it goes very well. You feel great. But you hit that hill and suddenly you die. Your team, your friends, they keep going up and you're thinking, what's going on? So this kind of an exercise helps strengthen your climbing power. Brings in some of that muscles that you don't necessarily work too hard when you're at those higher cadences. And engages your aerobic system. Nice work. We have 20 more seconds here, then we're going down to 70 RPM. In 3, 2, 1. Let's bring that cadence down to 70. And bring in your gear. Nice and smooth. We're just past 15 seconds. So now, as our pedal stroke has slowed down considerably, we're able to actually think about that pedal stroke and revisit those single-legged drills. So in your mind, don't take any feet off the pedals, but energetically think that you have. Focus on the left, doing complete circumference, and then focus on the right. This is something you can do out on the road, especially when you're doing a long climb up one of our gorgeous North Shore mountains. So we're thinking about one leg doing that full circle. We want fluidity in our pedal stroke. And then that will carry on as we get back up to the faster cadences. Nice work, everyone. We have 10 seconds left, then we're going down to 60. In 3, 2, 1. 60 RPM. Let's find that now. And then bring in that gear. If you have knee or back issues, stay up in that 70 RPM range. Sometimes turning our higher watts at the lower RPMs can put some extra strain on our ligaments, to our knees, which also impact our backs. So nice and relaxed. We've settled in. My pedal stroke was a little bit fast there at the start. I actually quite like these low RPM, higher output sets. That's 1 minute. So now you're looking up the road. You're at the steepest part of your climb right now. Or you're hanging on with a group that's climbing. Nice and steady. 70 to 75 is not too taxing. You should be able to feel here right now that you could do this for an hour. We've got 20 more seconds till we head back up. So our next stop is back to 70. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's lift that gear to 70 and reduce your gear. So we're lifting the RPM to 70, bringing your gear back to 70 to 75. Some of you might find it easier to bring the gear down first and then lift the cadence. You can experiment with that. We're at 70 RPM. And we're settling in. So another interesting fact about low cadence work, many of you employ a strength training program where you're doing squats, deadlifts, those sort of power lifting moves. Doing this lower cadence work at the higher watts employs those muscles that you've been working at the gym. So we're translating your strength workout to your cycling. We don't always get the opportunity to do that. So it's a really good way. All right, we're just coming up to 30 seconds left. Nice and steady. Time sure flies when you're having fun. Think about your next move here. We're going up to 80 RPM. Are you going to take some gear off first or find your cadence first? We're on in 3, 2, 1. 80 RPM. I'm going up cadence and backing my gear off. That's not always how I would do it. From 70%, 75%, that is doable. From 85, I prefer to take a little gear off. But everyone's got their preferred way. So one more use for a low RPM, high power output, as I'm sure you can guess, is the start of an event, be it a fondo, a cycling race, a mountain bike race, cross race, anything that has a mass start. Suddenly, everyone's gone. They're taking off, and you find yourself already behind. And you need to be able to put the pedal to the metal and catch up fast. This is where you're going to need this skill. Be able to quickly power up your watts as you approach the back of the group. You don't want to be ramming into them, so the slower cadence allows you a little more control. All right, doing great. 30 more seconds here till our final lift back up to 90. This should be feeling pretty good right now. The sun is up here in Vancouver this January. It's looking like a brilliant day. And we've got our 30 minutes in already. So in 5 seconds, we're going up to 90 RPM. 3, 2, 1. Up we go. We're back to our cadence efficiency rate. Bring that gear back to your 70 to 75. We're back on with our group. We're riding nicely, nice and smooth. Now's the time you can check in again with your power center, your core, your shoulders. You had some tough little moments down there where you had to catch your group. Now you can relax. Just over a minute to go here. Beautiful. Nice and smooth. You're an efficient cycling machine. You're turning perfect circles. You can feel every aspect of that pedal stroke. You can imagine what each leg individually feels like and how they work in symmetry together. 30 more seconds. Nice work. Everyone's looking super smooth. We've gathered a new skill for our home training toolbox. You could incorporate something like this a couple times a month. Be perfect. And we are back to easy. So find your 50%, your preferred cadence, up towards 100 ideally. We've got just 2 minutes till the end of this 30-minute set. So let's get some recovery in and talk about the prize. So this entire week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is hydration week. So we are very fortunate to have Precision Hydration providing 1 tube of their specially formulated sodium capsules to every winner, along with a 1 liter bottle. Those of you who are familiar with Precision Hydration, it's actually a diagnostic test you can do to learn about your personal sodium loss rate. But they have a lot of science on their website, so you can look up that, precisionhydration.com, I believe. And you can even do a pretty decent home test to see what level of a sodium loser you are. And it means nothing how fit you are, how much you do, how little you do. Your sodium loss rate is something you are born with. So much interesting information. So for those continuing on after this, some nice easy riding, maybe in that 60 to 70% range. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. We are out.